Greetings, everyone. Welcome to the Tanya Love Show. I'm so happy that you're joining us today live. Just a reminder for those that are joining us, the first caller that calls in today, I will do a live reading for. So if you want to do have an angel reading, or I also have my divine guidance cards today, call in to 919-518-9773, or you can dial in through Skype to Computer's 2K Voice. So a little nudge, if you want to not be so shy today and talk to Tanya, you could get an angel reading, and I'd love to chat with you. Basically today, I'm going to focus on the subject for today, or the topic for today is going to be on protection and purification. And this has come to me from many angels, as well as these beings called the Arcturians, which are new for me. And I was just having a meeting last night. It was actually a workshop called The Empowering of the Empath that I'm leading. It's a 6-month mentorship. And I had like 4 different confirmations come through that I was indeed connecting to these beings from Arcturus, which is totally new for me. And I hope none of you are going to just stop watching me now because you think I'm crazy. But basically, angels are not from this planet. They're from another realm and another dimensional space as well. And so I'm just kind of open to the fact that, okay, there's some other beings that are chiming in. And one of the books that, it was interesting because I was feeling these energies coming through in meditation, these beings guiding me for, teaching about protection and purification. And there was several messages that were coming through. And then I had a yoga class the other night, and I was guided to do some activations. They were called the subtle body fortification attunements. And I was doing these activations to help the students in yoga with their subtle body. And that may not make a lot of sense to you. You might want to research a little bit more about the subtle body. But when we're talking about clearing the auric field, that's when we're in that space, not just the physical body, but we're working in the energy of the soul. And so that night, I just had an intuition to ask one of the guys who came, who doesn't typically come to my class. I was just looked at him and I said, "Do you know who the Arcturians are?" And he just looks at me and smiles and he's like, "Yes." And I was like, "Okay," because I got the intuition to ask you. And he's like, "Tanya, remember a long time ago I let you borrow a book, and it was called Blessings of the Stars," which I found it, and it looks like this. And he reminded me that he had let me borrow this book a long time ago, which I will return to him soon because I totally misplaced it and didn't realize I still had it. And in the book, there is this page that's about Arcturus. And well, it's actually a chapter about Arcturus. And it's a star system that's 36 light years from our planet. And apparently these beings have been really helping our planet since the beginning of time, but helping us with bringing in the Christ consciousness, or what I like to call the unity consciousness, and helping us in particular activating the Earth's heart chakra and activating and aligning our heart chakra with the Earth, which was really interesting because I was teaching that in yoga. And this is where I'm realizing I'm actually channeling them and tuning into them, but I didn't exactly know who it was. I've just been learning more and more of who's chiming in and helping us. And basically, when I got sick last week, I had a lot of pressure on my chest and this cough that was really persistent. And I'm not typically sick very often. So I was just like, what is going on, angels? And I was laying in bed and I was just asking them for a healing. And I was just like kind of frustrated because I was coughing so much. And I was just like, I need help. I need you guys to clear this out right now. Like, what is this? And this is the night I had a dream of these Arcturians coming through and telling me they were helping me. Well, the next morning I woke up feeling a ton better. Like I'm still a little bit not 100%, but I'm like 99% better. And the next morning after asking that, I felt so much better. And there was all this confirmation coming through about Arcturians, where I don't know if all of you remember, but some that have been watching me for a while, I did an interview a while back with a woman named Holly Marwood. And Holly is married to a man named Paul Marwood. And Paul sent me an email, and I don't say random anymore. It was very synchronistic. He sent me an email after I had been asking for confirmation, And his email was a channeling he had just done with the Arcturians. I kid you not. And so I've had all kinds of confirmation coming through. And so I'm just open to it. And I feel like their energy and their vibration is very much like the angels. It's kind of like when I was talking to Holly and she's talking about channeling the High Council of Orion. And I was like, it sounds like they say the exact same things as the angels say to me. And I was like, oh, are they from the same place? Like, it's interesting because they're so similar of messages. And I feel the same with the Arcturians. And really, I feel like there's different star systems that are of a similar consciousness that are just very highly evolved, and they're helping our Earth, they're helping our planet, and helping humanity in particular in awakening and shifting and clearing so much of the heavy energy so that we can go into this higher vibration. So a lot of us that have been feeling sick or different things that, we come from a fearful place and we want to label it. Often these can be ascension symptoms that we're going through, or for myself being an empath, sometimes spirit will touch me with something. Like I've talked about that in shows before. Right before I meet with a client for an auric clearing, I'll go into a meditation and I will tune into that client before they even come to my house, and I'll just ask to be shown their Akashic records. It's kind of like I have a little meeting with their guides before they ever show up. And often, if there's something going on physically in their body, I will feel it in my body. And I've learned as an empath to let it touch me. And I set this intention that the energy can touch me, and then I send it back. And so, with this cough and all this stuff that was going on in my chest, I was just frustrated because I totally forgot that I could be possibly doing this, like picking up on something. And so, when I was asking them for help, the message that came through is, remember the empath you are. What is it that you're feeling? What is it that you know about this? And so I just was tuning in, like, what do I know about? And I was like, well, wait a minute. Maybe there's an energy touching me. And if that's the case, then I don't need it to be here any longer. I get the picture and I'm sending it back. And that's when I felt so much better the next morning. So last night we had a workshop called the Empowering the Empath, and ultimately an empath is a living being that is very much aware of the energy and the vibration of things, more so than what we are shown, what we see, what we hear. We feel everything. And so many humans on this planet that are empaths, I like to call them learning empaths, the ones that have not really awakened yet. They don't realize their gifts in a way of empowerment. In most cases, they feel kind of cursed. They feel like, what the hell? I can't go into a shopping mall, or I can't go to a hockey game because all those energies, all the people, it's overwhelming to me. And sometimes empaths just stay away from big crowds because of the energy. It's just too much for them. They often are children that they feel alone a lot. They feel kind of isolated, and they feel sick to their stomach a lot because they're picking up on energy and they can't really understand it with their logical mind, but they feel things in their body. And a lot of times these beings are kind of living their experiences in ways that create disruption as far as having medical problems. They may have like stomach disorders and different things going on in their like their energetic makeup of their body. It can really throw them off. So as we learn to come into our power as an empath, and we learn to be in our power and be grounded and to walk on this planet with more of a protection, I'd say protective shield, but I don't really want to give the impression that you have to put on armor, but it's more like a vibrational energy that you're emanating from yourself. And it's the best way I can give the visual for people to understand is imagining that when they're in an energy, like in a big, shopping mall, and there's all these energies they can feel and it's bombarding them, they can imagine that they have this bubble of light around them that's protective, like this bubble, like eggshell around them. And it lets all the love in, all the good stuff can come in, but anything disruptive or low vibration gets kind of deflected off of that shield that they have around them. So that's one thing that you could visualize when you start your day. Just set the intention to call that protective shield in. Another way that you can do it is being very sensory aware. I like to feel it, not just see it. So I'll imagine the feeling of that energetic shield, what it feels like to have that vibrational energy expansion. So I'll tell clients a lot of times, imagine like when you're fearful and you feel vulnerable, it's kind of like you pull your energy in and you feel vulnerable. So you're making your auric field very small, which is really inviting an attack. It's inviting psychic attack or lower vibrational beings that would want to disrupt your energy. You're just kind of inviting them in. So if you handle that in the exact opposite way, instead of going small and protecting yourself, if you imagine your expansion and you imagine your vibration reaching out into that room like the sun, like visualize and feel what that feels like. And you can practice this with, I don't know if any of you know what dowsing wands are, but if you can either make them yourself or you could buy some dowsing wands. I've made them before out of coat hangers. You just take a straight metal coat hanger, bend the end, put like a straw over the end so that you're holding the plastic. And you can just hold them, one in each hand. And as the wires are pointing ahead, as you think of something very heavy and like sad, low vibration, the wands will pull inward and they'll come close to each other. And as you think of something very high vibration and you feel that feeling of expansion, think of someone you love and something that makes you so happy, those wands will open up. And I've demonstrated this in front of people many times, and it's pretty amazing. But it's just a simple little trick you can play with to show energy. So if any of you want to experiment with that, go for it. It'll be a fun little science experiment. But basically, the intention of my telling you this is that some of you, if you're feeling bombarded by the energy out there, you need to be more mindful of setting your intention each day. When you wake up, I set an intention where I step on the floor and I just say to the universe, I'm grounded. I imagine my crown opening to spirit for any guidance or, healing, whatever is flowing through me. And I say, I'm connected. And then I imagine that bubble or that shell around me, and I affirm that I am protected. I'm divinely protected. And this is a good habit in the beginning for some of you that, maybe just aren't feeling that grounded. You're not feeling protected. You're not feeling like you're connecting with spirit because you're not setting an intention. So you're just jumping out of bed, hitting the alarm, racing into traffic. There's not enough time. There's not enough money. There's not enough hamster wheel. And we do that, a lot of us, without meaning to, just because we jump into the robotic mode. So for us to really live in a higher vibrational experience, the first thing is to check those habits that you may get into where you go into robotic mode and where you go into fear and lack and where you don't really protect yourself. So I would encourage you to each do that. Start your day with more of an intention, calling in your protection, grounding your energy, and remembering that you're light, remembering that you're high vibration, and that you can emanate that frequency. You choose that. No one else chooses what you put out except you. So, on that note, if we are focusing on something that we're angry about or we're fearful about or we're, nervous about, then we're in our intellectual mind dwelling about these things. Really, what we're doing is we're still participating in third dimensional experience and we're in a heavier vibration. This is going to make us feel uncomfortable because as we're feeling that encouragement and that push to expand into a fifth dimensional experience where we're in a higher vibration, we can't do both. So if you want to be in fifth dimensional experience and you're in a high vibration where you're in love, you're in hope, you're in joy, you're in gratitude, that feels amazing. It feels lifted. It feels expanded. And if somebody upsets you or somebody disappoints you, it's important that we stay connected to heart. We express how we feel. We express our truth, but we stay aligned in our higher vibration. And I say that because what Archangel Ariel brought to me in a dream recently was she was telling me how one of the ways the lower vibrational energies trick and hook our egos and trick us and pull our energy down is the energy will come in and sense a high vibrational being. Like imagine I'm just like, I'm feeling amazing and Tanya's on fire and she's excited and happy and passionate and everyone near me can feel my expansion. They can feel my vibration. And the lower vibrational energy wants to come in and drag that energy down because it doesn't really like that light. It's like, no, I want to enslave these souls. I want to bring their energy heavy and make them fearful. So one of the ways that that ego can be sneaky for us is we're feeling really good about ourselves, confident, and suddenly something happens to trigger an energy of fear or an energy of guilt or shame, and we start to drop in vibration. So, for many of us, we have to really remember that we're eternally living in the now. And so, whatever we've done in the past or what we've been through, we need to face it, we need to deal with it, and then we need to release it and clear it. If you've done something, like I've had clients who have done things in their past that they feel terrible about because there was a consequence to their choices, and they get through the experience they need to get through to heal, but then they look at the consequence of their actions, and then they're like, Tawnya, I feel shameful. I feel, I feel so much guilt for what I've done. This energy is exactly how the low vibration wants to hook that soul again that's worked so hard to get free of that heaviness, and wants to hook into them and pull them back into heavy. A lot of times, people that have had drug addictions or alcohol addictions, this is exactly the roller coaster ride that they're on. They feel like they're coming out of it, they're doing better, they're happy, they're looking at their life in a good way, they're healing themselves, but then they look at all the choices they've made that have caused trouble and that they've hurt people, and then the guilt and shame, boom, they shoot right back down vibrationally. So I'm not saying that if you've done things that hurt others that that's fine, but it is important that you deal with the emotions of whatever you need to deal with. You say you're sorry to people you need to say you're sorry. You face it, you deal with it, and then you release it. So you don't want to drag those chains around for the rest of your life unless you enjoy that heavy energy and you like to be enslaved. If you do, by all means, keep dragging the chains because that's what you're doing. But for most of us that are on this journey of expansion and we're here knowing that we're consciously evolving, we don't want to feel that heaviness anymore. We know that it's not helping us. We have the conscious awareness that we must cut the cords and release those chains if we're going to be lighter, if we're going to go into higher vibration. So that's the message that's been coming through, is just to be very mindful of energies and of intentions and of your own awareness. Like, how are you seeing the now? Are you looking at out of the eyes of lack, or are you looking out of the eyes of love? Are you centered in your heart space, and is your heart chakra linked with the earth's heart chakra, to where how may I serve? How may I contribute? How may I assist? And how may I love myself and others? Or are you coming from ego and you're in your mind of trying to figure it out and trying to, heal everything or fix everything from an egotistical point of view, which will create more judgment and suffering? So, a few little pointers there, and I've got more to say, but I'm going to take a little pause to see if anybody is calling in or wants to call in, or if anybody is writing in with any questions or comments. Anything, Amnon?
Not yet.
Okay.
Just
So
hello and how are you and hi and
hi, hello, how are you all? I'm awesome. I hope you're awesome, and thank you for joining us. So, yeah, if any of you want to call in, remember 919-518-9773. Call in and I'll do a reading for you. So, why not? Seize the moment. So, back to this topic of protection and purification. One of the things that came up in our meeting, I'll keep saying meeting because I really see these workshops I'm doing more like galactic meetings. Like, the angels tell me it's time to explain this to them. We want you to have a gathering, and I listen, and then I just set up what we call a workshop, but it's really more like an angelic meeting. And the people that came were all really tuning in and listening to what was going on, and they all had confirmation of situations in particular that week in regards to aliens, which blew my mind because I was like, okay, guys, I'm either going to say stuff that's going to help you really trust that Tawnya is still tuned in, or I'm going to be saying stuff that's going to make you think, okay, Tawnya is crazy, and they're going to leave and never come back to my workshops. But I've decided to always trust and speak truth, and that's just what the angels have encouraged me to do, and I'm going to keep doing it. And it was amazing how many of them had similar things happening that week. And one girl in particular, She was like, Tanya, if you'd have told me this a week ago, I might have been kind of like, what? But she said, it's so interesting of the timing, which I like to call divine timing, that I had brought it up to her at that time because she had had things happen in that week that totally was bringing awareness of different alien experiences and energies that are here helping us. So it's very interesting. And she had been reading a book. I'm trying to remember what it was called, like The Evolving Soul or something like that. And she said that it's been an amazing book for her, helping her just understand like past lives and how we need to clear, which is what I do as a healer and an auric, angelic intuitive auric healer, is I am helping clear the vibrational memory, cellular memory that's no longer serving a human or an animal so that they can shift into a different vibration. And she was reading a book very much about this kind of healing and what's important and how it's so important for each of us to do this work if we want to go higher in vibration. So one of the things that we both chatted about is we had both gone to this expo. It was a Mind Body Spirit Expo. I think I mentioned it last time on the show. Um, and we had both attended it, and so did another woman that was in the workshop. And what we all noticed is that when we went in, the feeling I got was kind of like if you could imagine that the humans coming into this expo were salmon and we were spawning upstream. And the people at the booths were like the fishermen and they were trying to hook us and grab us and pull us in. And that's the energy I picked up on in this expo. And I only met a couple people in that whole gathering that felt authentic and felt like they were really of a high vibration to help others. But for the most part, a lot of the people, just the energy I picked up on was very manipulative, very salesy, kind of desperate, trying to grab people and get them to need what they have to say. But it wasn't really very honest and very like high vibration with honesty and integrity. And what was unfortunate about that is this is a mind, body, spirit expo. These are places where people are going hoping that, you know, they're going to find some answers. They're going to find people who are going to love and care about them. And one of the girls that was in my workshop, she said, you know, Tanya, I'm glad that you're saying that you sense that too, because when I went in there, I'm still learning to trust in my own empathic gifts. And she said, and when I went in there, I just felt like so many of them were an ego and it didn't feel good to me. And she said, and I just feel like what you're telling me is bringing me confirmation with what my inner knowing is telling me, which is that she needs to be very mindful when it comes to these places of spiritual connection, like the spiritual bookstores, the spiritual expos, because she said that she gets this feeling that these are the places where we can be tricked and where we just go in blindly. We let our guard down and we just assume, oh, we're fine here. And this is what we're going to talk about a little bit with the protection, is that each of us needs to be very awake and aware. Archangel Ariel's been bringing that message to me several times in the last several nights in dreams. She's warned me. She came to me in the dream right before. It was actually, there was her, and it was like more like in Star Wars, like this galactic Senate meeting. And it was the night before I went to the expo. I had seen all these different beings there and ascended masters, high council of Orion. I just knew who they were. But there was this group I wasn't sure who they were. And then later that week, I was told they were the Arcturians. So there's these beings that are tuning in, trying to help us. And in that dream, they had warned me to be very mindful of the energy, to pay attention. Well, the next day I woke up like, okay, I always pay attention. Like, I don't understand what they're saying. Well, when I went to this expo, I felt like a man had actually manipulated my energy. And that's when I started to get the really bad cough. And I started to go in and meditate and kind of pray, like, help me, what's going on? I felt like something was like a hose was attached to me and it was just like sucking my life force. It was a very strange feeling. But this is, you know, I feel like I'm pretty damn aware. And I walked in there and just was in a place of love and trust and just being open to these people as if they were my soul family, and I let my guard down because of the environment. And this is exactly what I feel that my guides were warning me about, was to pay attention. And so I say that to each of you, not to make you paranoid or fearful of expos or of spiritual bookstores, but to more just to bring you caution and warning to pay attention and to walk in with your bubble on, like really expand that auric field and really step back and observe so that you're not absorbing the energy, and really make sure that you're not walking in like a fish where you're going to get hooked and caught by somebody, where they're trying to grab you and pull you in. And there are healers on this planet that truly want to help you. And there are healers that are beings, I would say, that are in the form of healers that really want to enslave you, and they want to hook you, and they want to bring you in and control you in some way. So we need to open our eyes and pay attention. And they can come in all forms. It could be, at your church, it could be at your school, it could be at a spiritual expo. It doesn't matter what costume they're wearing. It's again reminding us to be very mindful of the energy and the vibration so that we're really tuning in and discerning that every moment things can shift, so we want to pay attention to everyone's intention and know that we're actually going to people when we're in a high vibration. And I'll give you an example of that. The one of the girls that came to my workshop yesterday, when I met her, she had been praying. She was really going through some rough stuff in her life. And so she had been praying to her angels and guides to please guide her to a teacher that could help her. And she literally was like, I'm ready to meet my teacher. I need to find my mentor. Like, who is it? And I think it was the next day she said that she was at some place, and it was just total random and not like her normal behavior to go and grab this magazine that was there and look through it. And it was the Natural Awakenings magazine that I had just started advertising in. That was my first ad I had ever placed. And she found that magazine, and she found my Empowering the Empath workshop and contacted me. Well, we ended up connecting through the phone and everything. And long story short, she felt very drawn to work with me. And now she comes to my events, and I've really helped her a lot. And she's taught me so much as well. My point with that is she was in a place of asking spirit for guidance from a higher vibration to guide her to her mentor and teacher. And then she found me, and it's a beautiful co-creative experience and exchange. Some people, and she admitted this has happened to her, where she has been in a place where she's been desperate and fearful, and she just goes desperately in fear to a spiritual store or to an expo or something, and goes to a psychic and feels like they manipulated her, or like they took advantage. They, lied to her. They told her stuff that didn't even make sense. She said sometimes it's like she felt she gave them a lot of money and they didn't tell her anything more than what she actually already knew. And so the reason I say that is when we're in a low vibration of fear, we're going to put out that energy, and we're going to draw to us that same energy. So a lot of times those of you that are suffering, it's not that you're being punished and that there's no good healers to help you. It's just you need to reach higher. You need to go into meditation, and you need to thank source for guiding you to a high vibrational being that can help you, or work directly with them. Like I work directly with my angels. If you feel confident enough to do that, do that. But if you're in fear, be very mindful, because a lot of the ones that I see that get taken advantage of and they get really desperate, almost like addicted to psychics, are in a lower fearful vibration, and then they go and seek out that help. And beings that are in that same frequency are going to be the ones they draw in. So if that makes sense to you, if you think of energy, really really pay attention to the energy you're in when you're making big decisions, because you're attracting to you what you are. I hope that makes sense to everybody. So I'm going to pause. Is there any questions or any comments, Amnon?
Mm, oh, wait, there is. She just
Okay.
put it in. Kathy's saying,
Okay.
are you familiar with the Pleiadians?
The Palladians?
Pleiadians.
Yes, I've heard of them as well. And actually, it's funny she says that, because in this book, if you're interested in reading it, Energy Blessings from the Stars, there's these initiations that I've actually been, and I wasn't, like I said, I got this book maybe like a year or year and a half ago, and I totally forgot I had it. And I've been guided to do these activations and help my clients with like subtle body fortification attunements and different healings and activations for their heart chakras and linking the heart and the mind. And in this book, it talks all about that. It's all about these activations, which I feel that they just kind of came directly to me and were working through me because I was open. And so, yes, I actually know one of my clients that I've worked with. she has worked with the Palladians a lot. And her and I, when I did a clearing for her, I sensed them and I was telling her about them. And she's like, yes, I have actually worked with them a lot. And she's had a lot of amazing experiences come through her as a healer where they've helped her and guided her. So I feel like you just gotta, each of you needs to tune into your own higher consciousness when you're in meditation and just ask more questions. Ask, who am I talking to? Who is it that's here helping me? And you got to really trust the energy and the vibration. There's so many people who I meet a lot of fearful ones that well, I don't really meet a lot. It's mostly like my family. Some of my family are very fearful, like, Tawnya, who are you tuning into? Like, what if it's Satan? Or they'll say things that I think they just, there's a lot of religion there. And so they're like, what if you're, tuning into some demon or something? And I'm like, okay, well, if it was a demon, I'm pretty sure that I would sense vibrationally their energy. Just like if a really hateful serial killer person was coming towards me in a body, I can feel their energy. And so part of being an empath is learning to trust what you feel. And when you're in meditation and you're opening up and channeling, like when Holly and Paul channel Arcturians or the High Council of Orion, I've channeled Kuan Yin, I've channeled Archangel Ariel, Archangel Michael, different beings like this will come through. You can feel an energy, and I don't allow myself to even open to anything unless it's of high vibration and of love. And if you look up some information about the Arcturians, they are all about love. They are here helping humanity with our understanding and our embodiment of unconditional love. They're here helping us heal the heart chakra, helping us to clear all the fear and the heavy energy and woundedness of the heart. Because for us to even go into this fifth dimensional energy experience, we have to clear this heaviness or we can't go there. It's kind of like you're too heavy, you got too much luggage, too much baggage, so you can't fly. So once you drop all the baggage, the luggage gets dropped off. Whoo, I'm lighter, I can fly. And so think of it kind of like that. If you're carrying a lot of energetic baggage around,